So we all understand that chess is a very, very, very difficult game. And there's a very wide and large variety of strategical plans and positional plans. You get a lot of positions where you don't know what a good plan is. And then you get those positions where the position is rather stable, and it's a question of pieces. Who's got the more active pieces? You've got a bad piece, your opponent's got a good piece, you want to get rid of his good pieces, you want to get rid of your bad pieces, and so forth and so on. This game was played in a competition in Holland called Tilburg. Tilburg was a major event on the chess calendar in the 80s and 90s. It was a competition sponsored by an insurance company, and the top players in the world played. In the previous round, I just had this horrible, horrible game that I played with Lev Polygayevsky. Oh, pardon me, by the way, the insurance company was Interpolis, and Interpolis, who sponsored the tournament. And I had played in the previous round this horrible game against Lev Polygayevsky, where I managed to do everything wrong and snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. So this game, I was black, and I was really determined I was going to win this game. My opponent was one of the highest rated players in the world at the time. His name was Ljubomir Bojovic from Yugoslavia. So he opened with e4, I opened up with d6, the French. So you have to understand that my mindset before the game, it was like victory or else. You know, I have to win. Okay, against the French, there are many main moves. In this position, e5, the advanced French. He can play the exchanged French, which has a reputation for being a boring draw, but it's not so boring. And of course, the Tarrasch, knight d2 is a major move, and knight c3 is probably the main classical move. Here again, you have knight f6, a Steinitz variation, or bishop b4 is the winner. I was in a mood for a combative. I was in a combative mood. I wanted to go for a winner. e5. And I always had a pet fondness for this move of Petrosian's, queen d7. But I think this is like one of the ugliest moves you can play, and I just really liked it. It's such an ugly move. Of course, in the French defense, Black's main problem is he wants to get rid of his bishop on c8. The move queen d7 seems to be one of those ridiculous moves that violates like every opening principle under the sun. Don't move your queen early in the game. And yet, it really is quite a remarkable move. It has a venomous idea. The essence of this move is that in time, Black wants to get rid of his bad bishop, his light-squared bishop, which is locked in, unfortunately, by the pawns on e6 and d5. He wants to play b6 followed by bishop a6. So how does that help Black's maneuver? Well, there's several things behind the move queen d7. The first thing is that there are some variations where it's actually very beneficial for Black after, for example, a move like a3, bishop takes c3 check, b takes c3. It's sometimes very beneficial that the queen can come out to a4, blocking these pawns, attacking this pawn on c2, play b6 and bishop d7. A deeper move, a deeper reason behind the move queen d7 is that thanks to the bishop's early development, my g7 pawn is weak. Ljubomir plays queen g4, which in those days was considered the main move. And now we understand the reason for queen d7 is to play f5. So the idea from Black's point of view is he wants to lock up things on the king side as quickly as possible. He defends his pawn on g7, thanks to the queen on d7, and f5. So queen g3, and we get along with our business, b6. So I'm playing for bishop a6. Knight h3. Even today, I cannot understand the move I played. The move I played in this position really makes no sense. So how and why it appealed to me is anybody's guess. The standard move in this position is simply bishop a6. And after bishop takes a6, knight takes a6. And generally speaking, white has a large variety of moves, from castles, a3, knight f4, queen d3. So queen d3 would provoke my knight to come back, but my knight on a6 is really lousy anyway. So queen d3, knight back. But for some reason, by the way, the standard move here is knight f4, black can castle and put his king on b7 if he likes. For some strange reason, the move queen d3, knight b8 was bothering me. And again, I just played a really gross move, a5. We can give this move a question mark for all kinds of reasons, and the first one being that it doesn't help my development one bit. I'm losing a tempo, and all I had it in my mind was that I wanted to play bishop a6, and after the trade of bishops, to be able to not be forced to have to retreat my knight. Lubo played knight f4, and as I was looking at my position, I began to really fret about this possibility. Bishop a6, bishop takes a6, knight takes a6. The move knight h5 started taking on a whole dimension of concern. I remember thinking that after g6, first of all, knight here followed by h4 is a very good idea, but the move that really bothered me was I began to worry that his bishop was going to come to f4, his bishop was going to come to e5, and I would be in a great deal of trouble. Whether that's true or not, I'm not sure, but at least at the board, I had a panicked reaction. Against knight f4, I played a further bad move. I mean, this is an awful game. I played queen f7. For some reason, in my mind's eye, this move knight h5 was so fearsome, I played queen f7 to prevent it. Again, that's a second bad move, a5 being my first bad move. Queen f7 was a waste.
Question, please.
Yes, please, Mike.
Aren't you disorganizing your forces when you put the queen in that position in relationship to your other pieces?
Oh, yeah.
Disorganization, it's internal.
Oh, exactly. And again, I had another possibility, which was to get rid of my bishop, which is a strategically very desirable thing, my bishop being bad. And after a move like knight h5, I don't have to weaken anything. I could play king f8. I know it looks bad, but because the position is so blocked, the lines are all closed, he's not really taking advantage of my bad development at this moment. I mean, he may very well take advantage of things in the near future, but my queen will come here and my knight will come to e7. Instead, I came up with this horrible move, queen f7, and he played very well. He played a3. I took, and I played bishop a6. He took my bishop, and now, because of the possibility of queen c6 check, I recaptured with my rook. So at this moment, I was feeling pretty okay about myself, and my opponent went into like a 20-minute think. And, you know, as he was thinking, I'm looking at my position, and I realized that, oh my God, things are really, really terrible for me. White has a host of very good ideas, and in fact, I don't even have a serious move. Normally in a French, the idea is to attack white center with the move c7, c5, but that simply is not good in this position he's going to take. But as I was thinking about what I was going to do for my next move, I was thinking that perhaps I could go g5, but this is actually even worse, because after his knight moves away, I would be obliged to defend my pawn, and then he could play h4, and things are really, really gross. If I have to play g4, well, his knight could return to this optimal square h5. F4, pardon me, I was thinking about h5 as well. So I don't even have the threat to attack his knight. Furthermore, I don't even have the ability to develop this knight because my pawn on c7 is attacked. So I'm starting to worry about what I'm going to do for a move, and then I found a really, really great plan for white. Even as I was searching, my God, what am I going to do for a move? I found a great move for white. Suggestions? Yes. What should you, your man? What do you think white should do here? He has a tremendous position.
White or black?
White to move.
White should play queen to f2.
Queen f3. This square. This is queen. Oh, the board's up. Well, he can't take this pawn because I have it defended at the moment. Sorry that I had to flip the board, but I wanted yourselves to see it from my perspective, the black perspective. Other suggestions for white? White has a very, very, very nice concept. Okay.
Well,
So-
what about the basic concept now that he's got you cramped?
Yes.
Why not cramp you some more?
How?
Because that'd be the simplest, instant kind of way to do it, to bring in the pawn attacks. Begin to get the strong pawns into gear.
But
You have to choose which the best pawn. I don't know. I have to think it over.
Right.
Which is the best pawn to come after him with?
Right.
Someone.
Well, another way of looking at the position from white's perspective is this knight is superb, and he could probably just play a move like h4, securing the knight. Okay, I would have to do something. I'm not sure what I'd have to do.
Well, but he shouldn't worry about g5 right now because of the variation you gave.
Precisely.
So probably like a4 is a good one.
a4 is like a good move.
And I'm trying to play like b3, bishop a3 maybe.
Right. Well, you're right. You're onto the right concept for white. From white's point of view, his bishop is actually quite ineffective, thanks to the fact that his pawns are all on dark squares. So again, keeping in mind that someday, one day, there will be a miracle, the sun will start to shine, and maybe I would play c5. There's a great move for white, and that move is b2, b4. So what's the idea of behind the move b2, b4? In fact, it's twofold. The first idea is that you're stopping for good any chance for counterplay based on the move c5. Secondly, I don't know what I really should be doing. The idea is to play the move b5, attacking the rook. The rook would come back, and then you play a4. And suddenly, this bishop has a wonderful, wonderful vista. It's about to play bishop to a3, and that bishop just carves into my position. Yes, Ingmar, you had a question? No. Okay. Yes. Yes. Did you have a question?
In the path for white, couldn't you just take it with your pawn and stop all that?
Exactly. Why not just take it? Okay. It basically has to do with the idea of development. In this particular position, because all my pieces are really on their original squares, if I open up the position by capturing it, I'm actually helping white. For example, if I capture his rook, he attacks, he recaptures, and suddenly I've got a very, very big problem that I have to deal with. How am I going to meet the move Queen A8? My position's just getting worse and worse by opening up the position. So I sat there and I was like just wondering, what the heck, did I fall out of bed today? You know, like what's going on? My mind, you know, my position's a wreck. I've done everything wrong, and he's thinking, and I'm wondering what he's thinking about. And much to my shock and surprise, he took my pawn. Now, again, I think that the position after b4 is really close to an overwhelming advantage for white. And when he took my pawn on e6, I was really, really relieved, because I was thinking that that knight on f4 was a monster. Okay, I recaptured his knight, and now he captured my pawn. So in this moment, I was quite happy. Okay, he's attacking my knight. I can't, and he's attacking my pawn on g7. I can't play knight to d7, there's check, and he takes my rook. I played knight c6. So he took my pawn on g7, and my position looks completely hopeless. He's taken one pawn, 2 pawns, 3 pawns, more. I played queen g6.
I'm sorry, back up real quick. Why could you not take a knight to d7?
On knight to d7, there's the move queen
Oh,
c,
okay.
and I'm losing my rook.
Okay.
So either way, you lose your rook.
Yeah, so I played here. So now, much to my great surprise, my opponent again went into a deep think. So, like, I'm just so disgusted with myself, you know, like, I had analyzed, I had calculated that this sacrifice was not good for white, and that it would end in a repetition, a perpetual. So here, I was really amazed by Lubo thinking, because I could imagine that his thoughts maybe ran to this move, attacking my rook. I would play rook here. So now he would have 4 pawns for a knight, but after knight here, I think the position is actually terrible, just simply terrible for white. 4 pawns for a knight in general, it means that he has material advantage, but this bishop is totally ineffective. First of all, my queen is attacking his pawn on g2. Second, when I make a move like f4, followed by queen, I'll have threats like queen e4 check. And lastly, when I castle, my rook is coming to b8, and the open files are all in my favor. So everything would be going in my favor. So I couldn't imagine that Lubo would play queen b7, and I thought that his only move was to take my rook, which he did. Yes, sir.
Now it's taking your rook, why can't you take the pawn?
Pardon me? I beg your pardon?
Now it's taking the rook, why can't you take the pawn on e5? with your knight?
He means d4.
Well, it's his turn.
Do you just take the rook?
He take the rook, and then now it's my turn. So what was my intention here? So when we reach this position at the board, previously, when his knight was still on f4, I had calculated this position in my mind and thought that I had two moves. The first move that I analyzed was knight takes d4, because I was afraid that after castles, I would just be, unfortunately, a rook down and without much compensation. So I stopped my calculations here. I saw that his next move, he would develop his bishop, and he would be doing great. So what my main move had been was queen takes g2, attacking his rook. What I had calculated in my mind's eye was rook f1, because otherwise I take his rook with check. Now, knight takes d4.
And you cause devastating problems.
Exactly. But this was the repetition I expected. Bishop e3. Now, I could play takes king d2 and take his rook, but I thought that this was even stronger. I thought this check, king comes here, and then I thought queen here. So in this position, I'm threatening mate in 2. I am threatening queen c4 check, king d1, queen takes rook mate, or queen c4 check, king takes f3, queen back to g4 mate. Yes, sir.
When you move the bishop in front, you defect his knight like you just want your queen in front of the bishop
Okay,
to
tell
make the
me.
bishop pin, so you can move your knight and call and
Because
do
your
the
knight
pin.
on g8.
Discovered check.
Okay, so sorry. So queen takes g2, rook f1, knight takes pawn, right? Knight takes
And then the
d4.
bishop went over,
Yeah.
and then why can't you just move the queen right there to pin the
You'll
king?
lose your knight on
The problem is this queen on g2 defends the knight, and he would capture my knight with check. So what I had analyzed was check, king here, queen here, with that devastating threat of mate in 2, as well as other knight moves with double check. He would play king back to d1. I would play queen g2. He would play king e2, and the game would be a draw by repetition. Okay, so disgusted with the outcome of the opening, I thought to myself, well, okay, just make a draw, and and that tomorrow's another day kind of thing. And my hand started going towards that g2 pawn, and I began to smell a rat. This is kind of like a sixth sense that you develop over a time with experience, that Lubo had taken a long time in capturing my rook, and for certain he would have seen queen takes g2. So I started to think, well, is there something in the position that's good for him after queen takes g2? After queen takes g2, there's another move. What if he doesn't move his rook on h1? What if he plays bishop e3? Ooh. Now I take his rook with check. He moves his king. I get another free rook. I take the second rook with, but let's see what happens thereafter. Check. If I move my king, check. Oh my goodness. King, check. Oh my goodness. King, check, king. And look what happens. At the end of the whole series of captures, I end up an exchange ahead, but his pawn, when he moves his pawn here, his bishop would go with check, and this pawn, I'd be hopelessly lost. Oh dear. But wait a minute, I don't have to take a second rook. Of course not. Of course I shouldn't take his second rook. So we got to this position, and I said, calm down, Yasser, calm down. In this position, I'll take his pawn. He'll play bishop e3. I'll take one rook, very happily. He'll move his king. Then I'll come back and I'll just defend. And now I have an extra piece. I have threats such as f4, and it's okay. Whew. I was really happy I saw the move bishop e3, and I began again to reach towards the g2 pawn. And again, I smelled a rat. Something is wrong. Lubo seemed too pleased with himself. Too pleased with himself. Or as we would say, too pleased for his own good. So, queen takes g2. So can somebody suggest a move, not rook f1, because that was the repetition, and not bishop e3? What else could white do?
Bishop g4.
Bishop g5. Exactly. Bishop g5. So, whoa, what kind of move is that? Well, first of all, if I take the rook this time, there's no coming back. I can take that second rook, but then we get that variation we saw where he'll have bishop versus rook. And if I take his bishop with my queen, he plays king f1, and there's no way I can defend against rook g1, and my knight on g8 is lost. I would be losing. Whew. I was so happy. So finally, and at last, I could put aside queen takes g2. I didn't have to think about queen takes g2 anymore, and I was very, very happy about that. Okay. So now
You're happier than you
yeah, no move. Yeah, it's like okay, that I can put that to rest. So now I need a new plan. I need yes, Julian.
97.
Pardon?
97.
Knight e7 with the idea perhaps of taking his pawn,
Oh, also traffic.
also trapping his queen. Okay, yes, sir.
Knight takes e5.
Well, knight takes e5, he takes with the queen.
He
And
needs
knight
g4.
takes d4.
Yeah.
I saw castles, and that's where I had stopped. So, in this position,
Knight d8.
I considered my main move was h5. So what's the idea of h5? This was my main variation, and it'll start to make sense in a moment. h5, h4, rook to a7.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Triple dip.
Now I am trapping his queen. So what was the reason for h4? Rook here. So his idea, if I attack his queen with my rook, he's going to attack my queen with his rook. So we're going to play f4. Okay. He will be forced to take on f4. And now, at long last, I trap his queen. He attacks my queen. I play check. He attacks my queen. Yes, sir.
You can take, your queen can take on f7.
Just take.
My,
C2.
Yeah,
my
just-
queen can take on. Yeah, the board's flip
Your
around.
knight is hanging.
And the problem is this knight on g8 is hanging. So in this position, I started having a thought. I started thinking, well, first of all, I can come back. His queen is trapped, protecting his knight. He has no choice. He must play rook g3. I have check. He has rook e3, and I can make a draw. With this move, h5 is a forced draw. But remember what I said at the start. I wanted to win this game so bad that I started thinking, well, maybe I could take his rook. I would take his rook. He would take my queen. I would take his queen. So isn't this wonderful? I'm a piece ahead. Okay? But then I saw
Minus
which
4.
move?
Yeah, minus
C4. I saw this move C4, and I thought that if I take, his pawns would run me over like an avalanche. So I would have to play knight here. He would castle. And now I had a new problem. My new problem is I can't stop the move e4. And those pawns just keep coming, one after another. So, I thought that that position, even though I'm a piece up, he has so many pawns for his piece, I would be losing. Or I would be, pardon me, I would be worse. So, in this position, like I said, in this position, h5 was my main move. And after h5, h4, rook, rook h3, rook h7, rook h3, f4, bishop takes f4, rook h7, that's how we get into that repetition. Okay, so far so good. So, I felt so great that queen takes g2 was off my agenda, my menu of items of calculation. h5, I've got a draw. Now that I know I've got a draw, let's play for the win. Okay. And the way I think is, no matter how and where or why, how ridiculous my pieces may be, I try to find a variation where they're actually well placed. Okay, now let's take a look at that rook on a6. It's probably one of the most ridiculous looking rooks you've ever seen. Like, it's clearly a complete misfortune that the rook ever landed up on a6 like that. Like somebody threw the pieces in the air, the rooks landed on a6, and now I've got to find a reason why the rook is well placed.
Isn't that what castles are for?
Yeah, exactly.
For bondage.
For bondage. So, at last, I found a reason that justified my rook on a6. And again, my mood was such that I wanted to play for the win. So I played the move knight d8. So now, check this one out. With knight f7, his queen's trapped. completely trapped. But let's say he plays the move E6 to give his queen an escape square. What would be my move?
B5.
B5. And now, this rook, that's absolutely ridiculous, suddenly is perfectly placed. I'm going to play rook takes E6 with a check, followed by knight F7, winning the game. So he cannot play the move E6. He played what I considered the only move in the position for him. Again, keeping in mind that knight F7 is simply winning his queen and the game, he has only one move. He played bishop H6. Okay, so after bishop H6, which I expected, I had calculated this move. I calculated knight F7, queen G7, knight takes H6, queen takes, pawn takes, C4, exclamation mark. He has to use his pawns and get them moving before my knights can set up an effective blockade. And after D takes C4, F4, I didn't like my position because I felt that after he plays D5, two connected passed pawns in the center, he would stand better. So, of course I expected to move bishop H6, and I was ready for it, or at least I thought. He played bishop H6, and I played what I thought was my star move.
There's a pawn on C2.
Oh, thank you so much. I played what I thought was my star move, B5.
Yeah.
So in the first place, in those variations where he was playing C4 and getting a passed pawn, that was cut out. Secondly, this rook, I now had anticipated queen coming to G7. I wanted to take his knight, and now I thought this was very clever of me, that my rook could come across the board, attacking his pawn. My next move would be a move like knight E6, attacking this pawn, blockading, and then my further moves would include F5 and knight F5, F5, F4, and knight F5, and I like my position. So this is why I played as I did. I played B5. Now, my opponent played a move that I absolutely had not considered whatsoever. It never even entered my consciousness. Can somebody give a guess as to what white should play here? He has moves like, he can't castle long, because then I could take with a check, right? He could castle short, knight F7, queen, and then we get that variation we just looked at. That's a little bit different, of course, but a similar variation.
Why don't you just castle kingside? The kingside castle.
Well,
Best
kingside
move.
castle, knight F7, queen G7, knight takes, and it's at a similar position to the one we just looked at. He played a move I never considered. He played bishop G7. Why didn't I consider that move? Why had that move completely escaped my consciousness?
Because of the rooks.
Because of the what?
Oh, well, never mind.
It's okay.
Well, I was going to say, because there's a lot of variations where you scrape his rooks at the top if he doesn't.
Yeah, he has to be aware
Right.
of that.
You don't normally attack a piece by putting something between the queen and that piece.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, even more substantially, I'm always looking to extend my pieces, to give them as much scope, as much breathing room as I possibly can. And when this move was played, I understood that in my consciousness, this move just buries the queen. Unfortunately, the move is extremely strong because it attacks my knight. And I suddenly realized that after I played my only move, King F7, in disgust to defend the knight, that my king is actually sitting on the square that was the intended square for my knight. So now I understood after King F7 that I was lost. I was back to, being lost. He played Bishop F6, and really I didn't know, I think I definitely just wanted to resign at this point. And instead I played Knight E6 and just thought, well, my situation is hopeless. I mean, I'm material down, pawns down, exchange down. My whole concept was blown. I could have forced the draw by repetition, which is what I wanted to do. And now my king is ugly. Everything's ugly. The world is a horrible, horrible place. And I wanted to find a hole to crawl into.
Can you just offer a draw?
I don't think he would have accepted it, unfortunately. So here, Lubo started thinking again. What is he thinking about? I mean, my position's hopeless. It's horrible. Why is he thinking? So as he's thinking, and I stop cursing myself, but actually start looking at my possibilities, suddenly things didn't seem so bleak. Like, imagine that I was given 3 moves for free. I would play Rook C6, Rook C8, Knight E7, and his Queen's trap. Okay, his Queen's trap. So, hey, maybe I shouldn't resign. Maybe, there's something to play for after all. Rook C6, Rook C8, Knight E7, and I win. And what could he do? The position's all blocked up. It's not clear at all that he can stop that threat. Well, my opponent played a move I didn't consider. He played H4. Recall that I had looked at it before, but especially in this position it didn't make sense to me, because if he tries to bring his rook to G3 to save his queen, I have the move F4. I played Rook C6, and once more, a very big surprise, he played H5. Now I didn't want to take his pawn on G2, because I didn't want to lose this pawn on H6 and on H7 and release his queen. I played Queen H6, and I was very happy about this. Okay, Rook C8, Knight E7, resigns. That's my dream. So what did Lubo play? Whoa. So he was worried about things like knight takes d4. Perhaps he was worried about rook takes c2. I don't care what he was worried about. I played rook c8. Now I'm seeing the move knight e7, and he can resign, and light goes on. Okay, next opponent. Okay. So suddenly the position looks terrible for him. Terrible, just terrible. So what did Lubo play? Some ideas for white. What do you think Lubo played here?
Takes knight.
You see any good moves, Julian? Yes, young man.
Bishop B2 threatening queen.
Well, he can play bishop here, but if his bishop goes to G7, my knight would capture it,
He's blocked in.
and he's blocked in still. He hasn't rescued his queen, and my next move is going to be knight to E7. Any good ideas, Julian? Imagine you were white, man. Your queen's trapped. You haven't connected your rooks. Knight E7. You gotta just resign.
I mean, he could try G4. But
Okay, G4 is a good try,
he just
and then I would just take
I don't
it,
see any continuation.
and then there's no further good continuation. Okay, this move I didn't see either, so no shame on yourselves. He played the move F4.
Jeez.
And I thought to myself, what's that? Doesn't the guy recognize that his queen's getting trapped? And then I understood that if I played the move knight E7, he has the move bishop to G5, giving his queen the square F6. And if I take his bishop, he would take my pawn with a check. I would have to trade queens, and we'd be in a situation where I'd have 2 knights, but he'd have 4 extra pawns, which struck me as a little bit too many.
One of them already passed.
And one of them already passed. So, in this position, after he played the move F4, I said, okay, he's going to play bishop G5. Not a problem, not a problem. Take it easy. I'll take this pawn. So, my idea, once more, is to play knight E7, trapping his queen,
Bye-bye, queen.
and winning back the pawn. So now, can you guess what Lubo did?
Queen G7.
Queen G7, I trade and I take your bishop. And don't forget, this pawn is actually hanging as well in some variations.
Pawn threatens knight.
Pardon me?
Pawn threatens knight.
Yes, you can play the move G2, G3, but my knight would then just come back and you'd be in the same predicament as before, but even worse, now that I've captured this F-pawn is missing, there's even ideas of queen E3 check.
G4.
In this position, Lubo made a remarkable move. He castled.
Oh, he has.
And I go, what on earth are you doing? Don't you know I'm going to play knight e7 and trap your queen? But now, notice that the rook attacks my knight. So that if I play knight e7, he plays queen check, queen takes, bishop takes. He's managed to trade off queens, and my knight is under attack, and this bishop has a squares that it can retreat to, and I'm exchanged down and losing. So, in this position, whoops, I beg your pardon. Whoops. I played knight check.
Thank goodness.
Dreaming of the possibility that if he moves to the H file, it's mate in one. He plays king here. I played knight back. He played king back. I played check. He played king back and knight here. And now I expected that the game was going to end in a draw after all the fireworks and everything else.
You were happy?
Well, yes and no. After he played the move bishop g7 and my face went all red and I realized I blundered a horrible move and I thought I was lost, getting a draw from a lost position would have made me happy indeed. So at this point, expecting the draw with king g1, he surprised me by playing what move?
The king e1.
King e1.
Okay.
Maybe I could just check here and play knight e7.
E3 or F3. King F3.
King f3 is a very interesting move. I think I would just retreat my knight with the same ideas as before, as we've seen.
But you can't take it because you're queen. Can't
The
take
knight's
it.
defended, strong defense.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
still queen g7 will.
Right, we'll release
Oh.
them. He played a remarkable move.
Now,
It's like, g4, don't you understand I'm playing knight e7 and trapping your queen? You don't seem to get it. Now I realize that if I play knight e7, he has the move g5.
Oh,
Oh,
this
right.
guy's been in the
I can't take his
He's
pawn.
trapped her queen.
He's trapping my queen. I've been
Tit for tat.
I've been dreaming of trapping his queen. He ends up trapping my queen. So, after g4, I took his pawn. And now he played another remarkable move.
This guy is
G1.
Rook g1 doesn't help his cause, I'm afraid. I do have knight check, and knight e7. I see, that's a tricky move. You plan to trade, but I think knight h3 check is the problem. How many of you saw this move?
it's like
Whoa!
oh, that's
I
a
like
good
king
point.
g3.
Now, if I go check, he moves his king check, check. Just like in those commercials where you see the people making check a check. So, I don't have time to trap his queen. My queen's attacked. I took. He played
What?
king g3.
you just got the queen now. Now you can move your knight to a3.
You can take on.
What's his compensation? He's got to gain compensation.
You move the knight a3 and then just take that.
Well, if I go knight to h6, then he will take my pawn with check. And on his next move, I'm not sure where I'm going to move my king, but on his next move, he'll take, oops, he'll take my knight. Oops. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So in this position, oops, I tried my final desperate try. I went knight here. So I was pleading with him now, take my rook, please take my rook. So like if he takes my rook, I would play knight e4 check, followed by queen h4 check, and I would actually be winning, I believe. Instead, he took my knight, sad to say. I took his queen, and the simple finish to the game, rook takes f4, is enough, and I resigned.
He won.
He won! He won!
You could just offer draw. You could just offer draw when you were winning. It's like
I know, man. Well, when I was winning, why would I offer a draw? I was winning. So This was a wild and crazy game, but it also was the shortest post-mortem I've ever had in a game. After the game, Lubo said to me, "Moy, yo, 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 you played so terrible in the open." I go, "Yes, I know." He said, "My combination knight takes e6 was completely stupid. If I had played b2, b4, b5, a4, and bishop a3, you're strategically crushed." I go, "I know." They said, "After queen g6, queen takes h8, I had a wonderful trap for you. If you take my pawn on g2, I play bishop g5. I go, I know. I know, I saw that. He said, "But you know this combination, it's so bad. If you had played h5, h4, rook a7, rook h3, f4, you just could make a forced perpetual, forced repetition, and make a draw." I go, "Yeah, I know." He said, "When you played the move knight d8, he said, my God, I thought I was losing. Because, bishop, but then every single move was forced. f4, a castle, c3, h4, h5, c3, f4, castles, g4, bishop g5, every single move, and you have no choice, and we played, and I won." Like, yeah, I know. But one of the things that I do find very, very amusing about this game, and what planning was all about, was that even in the most pathetic positions where I misplayed completely the entire opening, my rook on a6 was completely senseless, I was discovering, or at least trying to find lines such as knight d8 and knight f7, which justified my poor piece placement. And it didn't work out this time, but on lots and lots of other occasions it has worked out. So, bravo Lubo. Thank you all.